Bust the rhymes up in the place, true indeed. Bust the rhymes up in the place. Who can flow with me? Just to let you know.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, the infamous Mr. T.Y., and this is the Project Recap Podcast.
What you gonna do, brother?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. I know. It's been a few weeks since I've been here doing this, but I can definitely give an explanation, get some clarity as to what's been going on with me and Project Recap and where I've been and what's the future hold for me. But we'll definitely break that down here shortly. Again, welcome. We are here, episode 2, season 3, Easy Money. We got a lot of topics on hand for today. Definitely gonna be talking about the Celtics, gonna be talking a little bit about the Brooklyn Nets and a few other teams in the league and anything else that may come up during that time. We've also got a quick recap, which we'll get into here shortly. Gonna talk about a few things there. But before we get into that quick recap, let's go ahead and talk about where the hell I've been. So for those that don't know, I'm sure most of you do know, but I did test positive for COVID the second week of January. It was like the first Monday or Tuesday of January. I know Monday night, so I tested positive Tuesday, actually, that first Tuesday of the month. Monday night, I started to really feel my symptoms. Like I was up trying to stream some Warzone, playing with my nigga G, and it just hit me. Like, I just felt like a wave of I don't know. Like I just felt so lightheaded for a long stretch of time. Had a slight headache, no energy, and I just couldn't I couldn't do shit. Y'all could probably go back and find that stream too. It's still on my Twitch. I even watched it back myself to see just how I was looking and whatnot. And I definitely was showing it a little bit, especially when I was getting frustrated. Like I'm just out of it. Like I don't want to play this shit no more. So eventually I got into bed and got tested the next day and had mine set up for same day results. So I got my call after I went and got my nostril swabbed. That sounded so wild, but they called me about an hour or so after I got back and let me know what it was, and it felt like it got worse after I got the call. Like I was feeling bad already, like even when I was going to the testing and whatnot, but it's like when I got the call and they told me, it's like I started feeling even worse. I don't know why that is, but yeah, that shit hit me really bad, like for a good week and a half, maybe nearly my job gave me two paid weeks off, which I'm very grateful for. Like I just lay in bed and got paid. That's clutch. About a week and a half or so, I was just down bad, to put it as easy as possible. I want to say by the Friday or so, or maybe before I went back to work, I was feeling good. Like I started feeling symptom free. Didn't feel anything that I had felt the week and a half prior, or the 2 weeks, however you want to say it. And I was feeling good. Got tested again because I was like, okay, if I'm symptom free, I should be tested negative. Got tested the second time. Came back positive still, which of course they say you can. I've been hearing and reading that you can test up to 3 months and still be positive, which isn't a bad thing. They say if you're asymptomatic and if you haven't felt symptoms, I think in 10 days or more, then you should be good. So that was right before I went back to work, started back working, and I got tested again a third time, and it was still positive. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, I'm not finna get tested a fourth time, because it's like, I feel like it's a waste of time, because again, I feel fine. I've just been still trying to be smart and safe about it, like trying to keep my distance from folk. Haven't been in nobody's establishment in over a month. It's definitely been weird for me over the past month. I haven't been able to do much, but I think I'm at the point where I'm fine. I just want to do some more research and get some more advice on the situation to see what I can do. But then that Monday before I went back to work, to kind of backtrack, that Monday before work, of course, I was feeling fine. That could have been the return of the podcast that day, but at that point I hadn't watched that many NBA games, so I didn't want to drop a half-assed podcast and kind of just be stumbling my way through it. I'd rather take that next week to catch up on what's going on in the league, catch up on a few teams, which we'll definitely be talking about today, and then come back with a very good podcast. So that's why we're here today. Yeah, it was very rough for me with that COVID. I think if anybody still thinks that shit is a joke, it is no joke at all. My immediate family has tested positive for it. Even some of my other relatives have tested positive for it and have definitely had symptoms like loss of taste and energy and things like that. Surprisingly for me, I never lost my smell of taste during that whole process. And that was like the most common thing that I heard as far as symptoms. And nearly everybody that I know that tested positive had that symptom. Trust me, I was eating every day, all day, and sipping on Gatorade and drinking nasty ass liquid medicine. And man, I don't know about y'all, but liquid medicine is the absolute fucking worst, but it does the job better than a pill will. I can guarantee you that. But one thing that scared me was, as far as all my symptoms, like I had pretty normal ones compared to what people have experienced themselves, like body aches, fevers, no energy, fatigue, lightheadedness, all that kind of stuff. But one that really scared me was the fact that one night my motherfucking I can't even say it right. My fingertips were numb on I won't even say both hands. It was mostly my left hand, but my right hand was feeling it a bit too. So I thought that was the end for me. When I was feeling that shit in combination with everything else I was feeling, I was like, damn, that's it for me. So I started listening to my old tapes and going through old shit. I'm like, damn, good old days. Oh, this is it. But I even, like, when I started feeling that shit, like I got in the shower and just stood in the shower for about 25 minutes and tried to warm up. And what pissed me off about that, for the first time since I've been in my apartment, my shower water, mind you, I had a max heat. That motherfucker turned cold. First time it's done that. And this is like the one time where I really need this bitch to be blazing hot right now, because I'm really trying to get some feeling in my hand. Like I didn't know what else to do. So my shit just started turning cold. I was fucking with the shower knob, like turning it back left and right to see if the heat would come back, man. I'm like, what the fuck? Did I run out of hot water? What the hell just happened? But now we still here, man. Ever since I started feeling no symptoms, I just been bumping I'm a Survivor by Destiny's Child. Cause that shit COVID thought it had me. It thought it had me figured out, but nah, big dog. We got you up out of here. So that's where I've been. That's what's been happening with me. I'm feeling good. I'm 100%, been 100% for quite some time now, at least since I've been back working. I've been back working the past 2 weeks now, and I've felt absolutely fine. I wish I could have them 2 weeks off again, especially after yesterday's Super Bowl Sunday. For y'all that don't know, I work for Spectrum, troubleshooting bullshit ass equipment, and this shit is no fun. Especially during the Super Bowl and, for example, the Mike Tyson fight, when people shit not working, oh my God, everything's my fault. Like every call, everything's my fault. So I can't wait for my time in this position to be over. And I know I know a few of my peoples have been even interested in trying to do this. It definitely is a good paying job. Do not get me wrong. Good benefits. You can definitely have a good schedule because they give you many hours to pick from. You can apply for different shifts, all that good stuff. Work from home. I work from home. I'm not saying everybody can. I have a quote unquote medical reason, and this is prior to me testing positive, way before I tested positive for COVID. But yeah, the work is no fun because everything that go wrong with people's stuff, they blame it on whoever they talking to on the other end of the phone. They take that frustration out, and that shit can just be annoying doing that shit every day, and for months at a time. It just can be annoying. I know it can be worse than this, and especially I definitely know it can be worse than this. I've had worse than this, but it can just be very stressful and frustrating, especially because I had a guy mad at me and was talking to me like I was stupid. I'm like, bro, nigga kept telling me to look him up. He gave me his name. I dead ass Googled him and found nothing. He was telling me, oh, I do this, and this. I can do this. Gave me his name. I Googled his ass 2 or 3 different ways. and found not a thing. So I had my shit on mute, just talking shit like, bro, you are nobody. You were nobody. But anyway, we're gonna keep moving. We're gonna go ahead and get to this quick recap. I don't want to spend too much time on off-topic stuff. We're gonna go ahead and get into the quick recap. So, as everybody knows, yesterday, like I mentioned with the Super Bowl, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. I think that was Super Bowl 55, 56, I don't know. But the crazy, of course, everybody knows that's his 7th championship. That's 2 ahead of, I did do some research and find like who else was behind him as far as most Super Bowl rings. He's now 2 ahead of Hall of Fame linebacker Charles Haley, who played for San Francisco and Dallas in the 90s. Of course, that's Tampa, or his first with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's first championships is 2003, where they beat the Oakland Raiders. And just to put it into perspective, how long ago 2003 was, because this shit made me feel old as fuck when I did some research. Bad Boys 2 came out. Apple launched iTunes. The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions came out, and Finding Nemo came out. I just want to let y'all know what if you think that was happening back in 03. I think I was maybe in like 2nd or 3rd grade. I don't even know. I definitely was in elementary. I'm sure most of us on this listening to this podcast probably was. Them Oak Tree days. But yeah, that shit just felt so long ago. And I looked into some fun facts about the Super Bowl. But Tom Brady also won the Super Bowl MVP. That was his 5th. That puts him ahead of Joe Montana, who had 4. I think he had 4, if I'm not mistaken. I think when I looked it up, but I could be wrong. Somebody might need to fact check me. But yeah, that was some cool things to find. Oh yeah, can't forget Gronk's. That's his 4th ring, and Antonio Brown's. I was about to say Anthony Brown. Antonio Brown's 1st ring. I started bumping some of his music on Spotify after he got that dub, and he had I know he had at least 1 touchdown in that game. I don't know if he had more, but when I saw him score 1, I definitely put on some of that shit he's made. I'm not gonna refer to it as music, but I'll put some of that stuff on, and it was a vibe. But moving on in the quick recap, if everybody has not caught wind of this, because this motherfucker was doing State Farm commercials yesterday during the Super Bowl, Drake has postponed his album. Of course, everybody knows that by now. If you don't, now you know. He has postponed his upcoming album, Certified Lover Boy. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if he said it was coming this summer or if people are speculating that it's coming this summer. I don't know. I just want it. Pause. Also, HBO Max has a bunch of motherfucking heat coming up. If y'all don't know, if you don't have HBO Max, and if you on the fence about getting it, let this convince you. They got a few movies coming up. Some that y'all might not fuck with some of these. The ones I put on this list, I'm interested in. So take heed to this. Godzilla vs. Kong. I got a band on Kong. Mortal Kombat has a new movie coming out. I'm very excited for this shit. Like, I don't know if y'all know, I'm big on Mortal Kombat games, mostly because of my dad. My dad grew up playing Mortal Kombat. He put me on as a kid, and that's just something that's been a part of my life, I guess you will. So, and the other Mortal Kombat movies they did, the first 2 were just, at the time, and even looking back now, they're not bad movies, but I feel like the special effects, the CGI and everything, and the combat, it was so cheesy and over the top. So I hope now that we're in a much more advanced era in terms of cinema, that this movie will be like really fire. So I'm very excited to see how this is gonna look. I wonder, what characters are they gonna have other than the main characters, like you got Raiden, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Liu Kang, those guys, Johnny Cage, Sonya, Jax. I wonder who else they're gonna put in there. I want them to put my boy Fusion from Mortal Kombat 4. That'd be fine. I don't know why or how they would do that, because I don't know how much he plays into the story of Mortal Kombat, but I love to see that. Or Kenshi, my guy. But anyway, moving forward. Judas and the Black Messiah. That's gonna be a good movie. It looked like a pretty good movie. I mean, from the ads I've seen, it definitely looks very interesting. And it's got Buddy from from Get Out that I fuck with. I can't remember his name, and he was in the Black Panther, but that's gonna be a good movie, I'm sure. They even have a live action Tom and Jerry movie. I'm skeptical about that. I grew up on Tom and Jerry. I don't know how I feel about a live action. I don't think everything needs to be rebooted or made a live action or needs a sequel. Leave some shit alone. I think Tom and Jerry could have been one of those things that was left alone. Like even Coming to America 2 or whatever, I think that could have been left alone. Not everything needs a sequel. I don't think so. They even have announced Space Jam: A New Legacy is going to be on HBO Max in the summer. I think it's like July or whatever. That's going to be pretty dope. Long overdue that the Space Jam sequel has come down. This is one I can rock with, a sequel that I can rock with, because I feel like this is definitely a moment where it's kind of like a passing of the torch, but it's also like letting kids today experience what most of us got to experience with the original Space Jam. So I think that's gonna be dope. And they even announced the 4th Matrix movie coming in December. And I think the specific date is December 22nd. Of course, with COVID, that could change. A lot of shit does not come out because of COVID. Like, I've been looking forward to season 3 of You on Netflix, Atlanta season 3, just to name a few things that have been delayed because of COVID. COVID's got me fucked up because of that. Moving right along in the quick recap, of course, like I said, if y'all don't have HBO Max and y'all skeptical about getting it or whatever, let them few movies and go look and see what else is coming just to convince you. But moving right along, Activision has also announced the Call of Duty game for this year. I don't know what the title's going to be or anything like that, but did read a few things as far as some speculation. Sledgehammer, who made Advanced Warfare, for those who are heavy on Call of Duty or even a casual. Of course, Sledgehammer made Advanced Warfare, and people are speculating that Sledgehammer could be making this year's game, which have caused people to think, oh, Advanced Warfare 2, cut it. We don't need it. The only other thing I've read is that it might be a follow-up to Modern Warfare from 2019, which I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, with Warzone still being a thing, they've even said Warzone is going to be like their biggest focus going forward, and like these other games are probably going to be second behind that, which is ass if you ask me. Like, multiplayer is just being abandoned kinda when they said that, but we'll see how it all goes towards the third or fourth quarter of the year. Also, everybody, I don't know if everybody knows, of course, they've been talking about the NBA All-Star game happening this year. I don't know where, in Atlanta. I'm about to say in Indiana. I don't know why, but they're trying to hold it in Atlanta. I think they're trying to do or like raise money for COVID relief and other things, but it just doesn't make sense to have the All-Star game with everything that the league is trying to do when it comes to the safety protocols, especially seeing like the shit that happened with KD against Toronto. I think having an All-Star game is kind of stupid. It kind of contradicts what they're doing to protect players. If anything, I still think players should get that accolade, like the acknowledgement or that reward of being nominated as an All-Star. But I don't think an All-Star game, let alone an All-Star weekend with other events like 3-point dunk contest, skills contest, all that good stuff, I don't think any of that shit should happen. It just doesn't make sense. And then I've seen like the media try to make, like, I think it was, and when I say the media, I'm specifically talking about, if I'm not mistaken, it was First Take. They were debating about how this is all played out with the All-Star game, and Max Kellerman, of course, tried to imply that because this All-Star game is happening or is, in talks or in the talking stages or whatnot, that there's problems between CP3 and LeBron. And of course, he's trying to say because CP3 is the head of the NBA Players Association, then with him, signing off on this on behalf of the Players Association, that this has caused some issues between him and LeBron. And that was something they were debating. I'm like, bro, why does that matter? Talk about the All-Star game happening. Why are y'all trying to make two guys who are obviously close friends, like try to create some tension or issue between them? It's messy to me, bro. I think that was just pointless, a pointless point, and just should have gone unmentioned or it could have been left unsaid. But I mean, hey, that's Max Kellerman in First Take for you. But yeah, All-Star game, again, I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it should happen, but again, players should definitely get that award or that acknowledgement. Moving right along, last thing on the quick recap, if everybody doesn't know a little bit more about some NBA news, Derrick Rose just got traded to the Detroit, or I should say, from the Detroit Pistons to the New York Knicks for his second run with New York. linking back up with Tom Thibodeau, I think for his 4th time now, I could be mistaken. And Detroit got in return Dennis Smith Jr. in a late 2nd round pick from this year's draft. Of course, you can never tell the value of a draft pick until you get to that draft, but we'll see how that pans out for them. And of course, Dennis Smith Jr. is not even hooping in the league. He requested to go play in the G League because he wasn't getting burned in New York. So he's still trying to, show that he can hoop, and I respect that. Hopefully he does get some burn in either Detroit, now that they really need that point guard, or if Detroit's G League team, if they send him down there and let him play, hopefully he just gets that opportunity. But now we're gonna go ahead and move right along into the main topics of today. So I'm gonna start off with my squad. I've been watching a lot of games of Boston just blow games. It's been heartbreaking to see. Recently just lost to Phoenix in a very good game. Don't get me wrong, they made it very tough for us, especially for Jason and Kemba to get going. Like, Kemba went 4 for 20. I think Jason was like 8 for 20 something. I can't remember, but just tough shooting, or I should say a tough shooting night, really, not even for just them, but for everybody. Jeff Teague showed up, and if Jeff Teague is hooping better than Kemba, then something is obviously wrong, because Jeff Teague ain't been doing a whole lot of shit. Anybody that follows me know I've been on his ass, pause. Like, bruh's had several 0-point games. I should have pulled up and checked into the numbers, like how many 0-point games he's had this season, or games where he really just won't own shit. But I'm just not big on our bench as far as scoring. I feel like, especially once you send Jason and Jalen to the bench, it really gets bad. That's when we blow. We'll get leads with our starters, but when we send one of those guys to the bench or both of those guys to the bench, I feel like we implode. We really just forget how to play defense. Can't get out in fast breaks on defense. Looks at the rim. Like, I feel like we just struggle. We struggle when we send those guys to the bench. I think one thing we need to do, or not even just one thing to do, we need to use that traded player exception that we got from Gordon Hayward going to Charlotte. And I think that's like $28.5 million that's on that trade or traded player exception, or TPE for short. And we could use that for a player like on an expiring deal or some shit, if I'm not mistaken. I looked at a few players, and I've been watching a few players that I would love to see play for Boston. A few like Nikola Vucevic, who I think is a very underappreciated and underrated center. If you look at the numbers, he's like a top 5 center in the league. If you look at the numbers, really just points per game, percentages, even I think rebounds, assists. He's one of the best centers in the league, and he really doesn't get that acknowledgement. I would love for him to play in Boston. I don't think Orlando would trade currently their best player. If not, I think if they don't want to give up him, give us Aaron Gordon, another Orlando Magic player, another good player. I love to see play for Boston. He could be great off the bench. I don't know if he would want to play off the bench, seeing that he's a starter, but he's not really. I don't know if he's really a starter, if you really think about it. Like, just watching him play, like, you can definitely do better than Aaron Gordon at that position for Orlando, I personally think. But he'd be a great fit coming off the bench for us. Some other players, I don't know if this could happen, but I really would like to see John Collins play for Boston. I've been watching a lot of Atlanta games, and I like watching what he can do as far as on the defensive end, pick and rolls. He can shoot the 3. Very athletic player, can guard 1 through 5, high energy, get out and run. Like, it's a lot of things that I like about his game, and I would love to see him playing in white and green, but I don't know if that'll ever happen, especially with this traded player exception. I think I think his contract is way more than $28.5 million, so I don't know if that could ever happen. A few other guys that I would mention is PJ Tucker from Houston. I think with him being I think he's on a very cheap deal or cheap contract. But not only that, somebody that can shoot the ball, that can defend, decent rebounder. Of course, I mean, Houston forced him to play the 5, but they gave up Clint Capella, which I think was the downfall of Houston when they gave him up, but that's not important right now. But PJ Tucker would be another good player, especially I think he would be an upgrade over guys like Javonte Green and really, yeah, Javonte Green's our only other wing. Shimmy's not bad. I think he's had flashes of good, like, he's had some good games this year. I'm gonna put it like that. And his shooting has definitely looked better this year compared to years before. But Javonte Green is somebody else I want gone out of Boston. if we can get somebody like PJ Tucker in place of him, oh my God, I'd be happy because Javonte, he's good on D. Don't get me wrong, pause. Good hands, a very athletic player, another player that'll get out and run, but he can't really score if it's not a dunk, if it's not something in the fast break. He can't shoot the ball. I cringe every time he shoots because I know it's a brick. It's like, bro, why'd you shoot that? Because you know damn well that's not going in. But yeah, I would like, between him and Jeff Teague, I like to see both of them going. I used to feel the same way about Grant Williams, but he's shown a lot this year. Like, he's definitely improved on his three ball. He's nearly doubled his 3-point percentage from last year. And that corner three that's his shot now. So y'all better step up. But another player I like to see is Thaddeus Young from Chicago. He's another very good big. I feel like if anything, that is something we can benefit from greatly. Tristan Thompson, I don't think has been bad. Okay, let me put it like this with Tristan. He's had some bad games, but during this road trip that we are on currently, I think we're still on. I don't know if Phoenix was our last road game during the stretch, but he's definitely looked good during this road stretch. And for that, I definitely want to see more from him. Him and Daniel Tice have been playing tremendous. I just think when it comes to and even Robert Williams, he hasn't looked bad, but having Thaddeus Young gives us, another option at that position. Somebody that can definitely get out and defend. A good rim protector. He's not a good shooter, but I still think having that low post threat coming from a guy like Thaddeus Young, who's played very, very well for Chicago, would be a great addition to us. I don't know if that'll happen, but just a few guys that I would like to see on the squad. But I'm just tired of us blowing games that I think we should be winning. Like, we beat the Clippers, we beat the Warriors, but we lose to San Antonio, we lose to Sacramento. We lost a 1-point game to the Lakers. We got blown out by New York. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make sense. And I understand Kemba hasn't been playing well. I won't let that go unmentioned. Kemba hasn't been playing well, but I want people to not overreact to that because he's only played, I think, at this point, like 9 games. I know at the point of the Lakers game, that was his 6th game, and people were on his ass about how he played. And I'm like, people don't understand what Kemba has gone through in the past year. Knee injury last year during the season, had the knee surgery in the offseason, no training camp, and then has been on minutes restriction. Also is trying to play behind 2 of the top 10 scorers in the league behind Jalen and Jason. So, and then with that knee injury, with his game being mostly relying on that speed, that stop and go, that pull up, you know what I'm saying? His craftiness, whatever you want to call it. That having that knee injury, I feel like it's fucking up his psyche and trying to just get out of that mental funk. He's getting his looks, he's getting to his spots. It's just not going. I feel like once he gets out of that mental funk, he'll be fine. I'm being very patient with Kemba. I'm just not pleased with how he played against Phoenix. That 4 for 20 was not it. I think if we would have had Jalen and Marcus, of course, that game would have gone in our favor. But then again, Phoenix was missing a few players. I think they were missing like 3 or 4 players. One of them was, I know Jay Crowder was missing. I think Dario Saric was missing. So, no excuse as far as availability because they were missing more players than we were, even though I feel like our players that we were missing, for one, both ours are starters. I don't think Dario or Jay starts. I could be mistaken, but I feel like if we would have had Jalen and Marcus, we could have definitely won that game. But I don't know. I feel like once we get our guys fully healthy, that's one. We just got Peyton Pritchard back, which I'm glad to see. That's definitely a good sign. He wasn't out for only about 2 weeks. He was trying to come back sooner. Marcus should be back relatively soon, and I don't know what's the latest on Jalen. I need to see when our next game is. I think it might be tomorrow. I don't think we're on a back-to-back. I hope not. Because if we are on a back-to-back, then more than likely Kemba's not playing. And then if we don't have Kemba, Marcus, and Jalen, then it's an L. So, anyway, we're gonna see. We're gonna see. I got hopes that Boston will get it turned around once we get, again, our squad together. I don't think we've only played but maybe 2 games with the team fully healthy. I could be a little off, but I think the Lakers was the first game we played together, everybody healthy. So that's another thing. So I'm not tripping on how we've performed. I just want the things that have been costing us games to be improved. Like, again, our bench, that drastically needs to be improved. That's been an issue for us the past few seasons. Ever since we lost, I want to say in 2017 or was 2018. Either way, we our bench has been just ass the past few years, and that's something we need to work on. But hopefully Danny Ainge. I did read this morning that he's looking for upgrades, but man, stop talking about it and be about it. Up next, I do want to talk about some of the other teams I've been watching, and I do want to go ahead and start off with the Hawks. I don't know who y'all been watching this year, but the Hawks is another one of my favorites this year. I really like what they put together out in Atlanta. They brought in, of course, Clint Capella from the Houston trade. They signed Rondo in the offseason. I feel like having those two guys improve their defense drastically, especially Clint. Having Rondo come behind Trey, a veteran point guard who has improved his three ball, like especially over the past few seasons. Not only that, of course, he's the greatest playmaker I've ever witnessed. I don't want to say of all time because, of course, you'll have people that say, "Oh, Magic Johnson, LeBron James." Yeah, you'll have people that'll start naming people off. But again, I like to be specific. Rondo is the greatest point guard I've ever been able to watch, no cap. And when I say point guard, I mean like playmaker. I'm not saying like in terms of, because you got point guards nowadays can do it all. You got guys like, of course, Trae Young. You got guys like Westbrook, Kyrie. List goes on and on. You got guys who can score, who can rebound, do a lot of things. But Rondo is a pure point, and I think the greatest that I've ever been able to watch. Maybe I'm biased because he used to play for Boston, But I think having those two guys improve their defense. And then you got, again, John Collins, somebody who's a walking double-double, give you 20 and 10 easily. Like also DeAndre Hunter, of course, my guy Cam Reddish, Kevin Huerter, another good player. Bogdan Bogdanovic hasn't even played since January 9th. Since he got hurt, he had a right knee injury. So when he comes back, that's going to definitely improve them on offense. They've also got Gallinari, who has been kind of a pain to watch because he just looks, I just feel like he's in pain every time he hoop. Like, he don't look like he's comfortable at all. Like, if it's not a catch and shoot, it's bad for him. And I know he's run into a lot of injuries, but I don't know. And I'm kind of glad because over the years, Boston has always been linked to him. I'm glad that never happened because, again, look where he is now. He's beat up. But, and kind of want to go back to Bogdan because, again, with him missing, who last year playing for Sacramento averaged 15 points, when you bring that kind of offense in, that definitely will help the team. And right now, I think I can't remember what place they are in the East, but I think they're a little under 500. They may be like 10 and 12 or something like that. I think like 2 wins or something like that. It's like 10 and 12 or I don't know. I can't remember what their record is in their place or their seed in the East, but they're a very good team. I watched a lot of their games. They're just tough on both ends. Like, you got a lot of guys who can score. You got guys who can defend. And they've definitely had a lot of great games this year despite their record currently. They've just been a very exciting team to watch. I think another sleeper team is somebody like San Antonio, who's currently like 5th in the West, I think. I've definitely liked watching them too. Some other teams, like, of course, I'm big on Golden State. That's been a team I've been wanting to watch since they picked up James Wiseman in the draft. He hasn't been playing the last few games, but seeing the way Steph has been playing this year, like on his MVP shit, like, I feel like if Clay never got hurt, there's no telling where this team could be right now. Seeing what they did add, then again, I don't know if they would have Kelly Oubre, who was starting to come around, had a very good game against Dallas, that first game against Dallas before, because I think, of course, like everybody, I don't know if everybody knows this, but during this pandemic, they've had it, of course, where teams will play each other back-to-back nights, or you'll play this team one night, have the next night off, and play them again, just to minimize that traveling. But the first game that Golden State played against Dallas recently, Kelly Oubre had like 40. But the next game, of course, Steph went off and had like 57. I think Luka had a triple-double and Dallas ended up winning. KP kind of came through clutch on the defensive end and late in that game. But Golden State has been a very, very good team, or a very fun team to watch. I just like seeing Steph do what he do. I love watching James Wiseman play, somebody that, of course, hasn't played much prior to coming to the NBA, but I knew with him adding him to the team from what the small sample size that I saw from him in Memphis, I knew it was going to be good things. And it's good to see that. It's very good to see that. I just can't wait for them to bring Clay back next year. I feel like Clay might try to come back late in this year. I think it's going to be a dub for that, but I can see him pushing for that. Like, he just give me that vibe. Like, he not trying to sit around. If he feel like he fine, he trying to come hoop. But I think they gonna dub that out of to protect him long term, and that's something I think they should do. But that's gonna be a fun team once they do bring Clay in, and if they can, retain a lot of the pieces that they do have going into next season, because I don't think they're gonna do nothing in the postseason this year. They might make a decent run, but I don't think it's gonna really go that far missing a guy like Clay. But if they can keep, Andrew, Kelly, who else? Eric Pascal, Damian Lee has been looking pretty good. Whoever, I can't remember what name is, 95. He's from San Francisco. He's been looking pretty good for Golden State. Damn, I can't remember. What's his name? A few other players, I can't remember off the top of my head. I should have wrote it down. But yeah, I just like watching Golden State play. Another good team I like watching play. Let me know who y'all have been watching. What other teams or players y'all have been watching. I've definitely been trying to add more to my list of just players to keep up with or teams to keep up with. I'm definitely trying to watch more Bulls games, more Kings games. Kings have been looking good. I did a little digging on them. I've been catching a few of their games this year. I did catch, I think, the games against Miami, of course, against Boston, and some other games. But I know right now they're on a pretty... They've been looking good over the last few weeks. Like, I think right now, out of the last 8 games, they've won 7, including beating Boston. I hate to keep bringing it up, but Tyrese Halliburton has been looking pretty damn good for them. I can't remember what game it was. He put up 23. It was recent. It was in the past few days. He put up 23. I think it was against Denver. It might have been against Denver. He put up 23, and that was the game Jokic had 50. I didn't get to watch that game, but based on what I read up on, he had a pretty decent show, and he's been looking pretty good all season. He definitely gave us hell, even though his shot is broke as fuck, at least to me. His jump shot ugly as fuck, but it be falling. I don't know what it is. Then again, we've seen jump shots like Sean Marion, Lonzo Ball, so on and so forth, that can be butter. So if it works, it works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. De'Aaron Fox has also been hooping all year. Like, he's averaging a little over 20 the games I've been able to watch. He just gives everybody hell. I don't think there's really any one person that can guard him from what I've seen. Harrison Barnes has also been very consistent for them too. I haven't seen or really looked into much from Buddy Hield, but the games that I did watch, his catch and shoot, of course, you leave him open as raps, it's gonna cost you. Marvin Bagley's he had a stretch where he had some very good games after his dad had tweeted that he needed to get traded. He had a stretch where he was averaging like 15 points compared to around 11 before the tweet, even though during that 15 points a game stretch, he had many more games compared to prior to when his dad had tweeted. But either way, I think that's just cool to know that his numbers went up. He had a few 20-point double-doubles. The team had, in those 2 games, the 2 games that he had 20-point double-doubles, the team was 1-1. So that's, just do what you will with that. That's something I found to be interesting. But his from what I can tell, not only with just looking at his game log, but looking at the games that or looking back at the games that I did get to watch, he definitely has been looking better. He's looked more comfortable. He's looked more aggressive on the court. I think they just need to keep putting him in positions where he can really thrive, and I think that's that low post. He's a very good 3-point shooter. His percentages definitely has gone up since that tweet, so I think that's something else that's definitely worth noting. Both field goal and 3-point percentage. I don't know about his free throws. I forgot to check into that, but he's definitely improved since his dad had tweeted out that he needed to get traded, which is, I guess, just fueled that fire. But yeah, that's another team I've been looking at. Again, let me know who y'all have been watching. I'm definitely interested to see who y'all have been watching, other than your favorite team, of course. Let me know. I don't know where, of course. Like I've said before, either comment on the YouTube video, let me know, shoot me a text, a DM, like let's talk about it. I don't have any other place where we can talk about it, or even on my IG or Twitter. Definitely come and holler at me about it. But yeah, moving on to the next and the final topic of today's podcast, we're going to talk about those Brooklyn Nets. I've definitely been watching quite a few of their games too. That was the next team, but I want to look deeper into it rather than just a few things like I talked about the previous teams we just spoke about. But I want to ask y'all a question before I go into what I think. Do y'all think that Brooklyn could win the East based on not only what y'all have seen, especially since the Harden trade, and what you're seeing from other teams in the East, like Philly, like Milwaukee? I want to know what y'all think. So I personally am 50-50 on. I think it's going to come down to Brooklyn and Philly. Really, because I don't have much faith in Milwaukee's bench that much. So I don't think they'll make it that far this year. I think adding Drew Holiday was a good thing for them. But one player that I think if they could have kept that they lost recently is Malcolm Brogdon. I know that's I think that was before last season. But either way, imagine if they would have had him and Drew Holiday, and then you got a few players, a pretty decent bench at that point, because a few of your starters will slide down to that bench. I think that could have been a pretty good squad. Maybe couldn't make it further if they had Malcolm Brogdon. But anyway, I think it's going to come down to Brooklyn and Philly. I think where it's going to hurt Brooklyn is that bench. I think they don't get much help from the bench. And since the James Harden trade, I did some deep diving into this. So excuse me if I sound like a little stat nerd or whatever. But since the James Harden trade, they've been 7-3. In those 7 wins, I think the bench has averaged maybe 23 points. And the best showing that they had was against OKC, which was also, not to mention, Brooklyn's largest margin of victory which I think was 22 points. All their other games in that 10-game stretch at 7-3, they're in those 6 other wins, they only by average beat teams by 5 points. So I think that's also kind of scary when you think about it, because OKC, it's not a good team. They play hard. I've only watched maybe 1 or 2 of their games, so I'm kind of shooting off the hip. They play hard, but if you have a team like Brooklyn, you should be whooping their ass, and rightfully so. They beat them without KD by 22. Kyrie and James both had 25. James Harden had a triple-double that game. Again, in those 6 other wins that they have won since trading for James Harden, they've averaged only 5 or 6 points in terms of margin of victory. So those games could go either way. You know what I'm saying? Their record could definitely be worse than what it is, because in those games that they won, I think all of those games have only, or excuse me, my bad, not all of those. 4 of those 7 wins since the James Harden trade have been won by 1 or 2 possessions. So again, those games can go either way, and I think a big part of that is because their bench gives them no help. Like, I think James, Kyrie, and KD all average nearly maybe 35 minutes a game, but that's not even the problem. I think, again, scoring from their bench is a problem. Again, only averaging 23 points since James Harden has been traded to Brooklyn. But not only that, when they're not playing DeAndre Jordan, I feel like that's also when things go wrong for them. They give up a lot of points in the paint. I think they're second worst in the league in points given up in the paint, which is a big problem for them. Like, my favorite example, because I think most of you probably saw this game as it was nationally televised, the game against Washington, they gave up a bunch of points at the rim from Westbrook and Beal. And I'll use that as an example because, again, I'm sure everybody got to see that game from top to bottom. Very bad game for them in the paint. Like, Westbrook was getting a lot of his points in the paint. He was giving Joe Harris and Kyrie hell, just getting by them, no problem. And again, when you don't play DeAndre, you don't have another center. And DeAndre averages like 20 minutes a game. He's only had 4 games. In his 24 games that he's played this season, in 4 of those games, he's played 25 minutes or more, where the team has gone 2-2. In games where he's played less than that, they've gone 11-9. I think they could be better if they play him more, because, again, to me, from what I've seen, their biggest problem is giving up points in the paint. It is going to kill them because they don't have a shot block. You can't rely on KD to be your shot blocker. Like, you just can't. Like, granted, we all know KD's 7 foot, he's got a long wingspan, but if you put a skilled center on him, somebody like a Joel, for example, bruh, Joel will eat. Like, I'm sorry, I just don't see KD ever stopping a guy like Joel at the rim. So when you look at how their team is currently constructed with one true center, and then they run like a small ball lineup where they've got Joe Harris and Jeff Green out there with Kyrie, KD, and James Harden, you're going to give up a lot of points. But I think what people are saying is, okay, yeah, they're going to give up a lot of points, but they're also going to score a lot of points. I've never seen a championship team win without defense, so I don't see them going that far. So I really feel like Philly could be that team that does it to them, or maybe even Milwaukee. A team like Milwaukee could sneak them in the playoffs. So I personally don't think they're going to win anything in the postseason. I don't think they're really going to go. I don't think they're going to win the East. Part of me, I know I said I'm about 50-50, but I'm leaning more so towards them not winning, despite the talent they have. Because again, you can't win shit without defense. Not a damn thing. So, and if I'm not mistaken, hold on, I'll look right now actually before we wrap the podcast up here soon. My goddamn sinus is starting to bother me. But let me just check something real quick, because I want to see. Yeah, so not only are they, like I mentioned before, second worst when it comes to points allowed in the paint, but they're also second worst in points allowed in general. The worst team in the league is Washington, which if you watch their games, you would know why. But Brooklyn gives up the most amount of points, not only in the paint, but in total. So I feel like defense is going to be their biggest problem. I said this as soon as James Harden got traded. They should not have given up Jarrett Allen. That was a dumbass decision. That was the dumbest thing you could have done, and they are going to wish they never did that, because again, a prime example, a very recent example is Houston. They tried to run no centers, and look where it got them. If you try to run a lineup where your only center plays only 20 minutes a game, and then everybody else, as far as like your again, James, Kyrie, KD, playing 35 minutes, DeAndre's not even playing in the fourth. I should have looked into how many minutes he's played in the fourth since the James Harden trade. But in games I've seen, especially late in games, close games, DeAndre's not playing. The Washington game, again, is a good example of that. So I don't think Brooklyn's going to do it this year. Based on what I've seen, they're winning games. They had a good stretch before that Washington game. They won a 4-game winning streak. And then, of course, with the whole KD getting pulled from the Toronto game, they've lost the last 2 games they played in, which was against Toronto and Philly. I just don't know. I have my doubts about them for a lot of reasons, but my biggest issue is that defense, and more specifically, their paint defense. So if they can figure that out before whenever the trade deadline is, I think they'll be a lot better off. People have been saying they should get Andre Drummond. I'm like, with what money? You're paying that big three everything possible. So how can you get a guy like Andre Drummond? So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But again, like I mentioned before, let me know what teams y'all have been watching this year, players y'all have been watching this year, and let me know what you think about Brooklyn, what you've seen from Brooklyn, what you think about Brooklyn in terms of how far they can go this year. I'm definitely interested in having that conversation. I know tonight we'll be streaming here on Twitch, on Thank You Brother on Twitch. Got a few games that we'll be playing, of course, Valorant. I've also got CSGO, or Counter-Strike for those that don't know. GTA 5, we're going to do some RP with that. And I think I'll try to squeeze in some other things. But we'll definitely be streaming tonight, hopefully around like 9, 10 o'clock at the latest. I'll be up live. But definitely appreciate y'all coming back, checking in. This is season 2. Season 2, wow, man, I don't even know what season it is. Holy shit. Season 3, episode 2, Easy Money. As always, it's your boy TYB, and I'm signing out. Peace.
What you gonna do, brother?